Hey guys, today I have a book haul to share with you. So let's get going with this video, you guys. As always, I have 20 books that I'm going to be sharing with you guys. As I've been saying for all of these book hauls, the last several that I've done, I am super behind on book hauls. It is absolutely ridiculous. So many of the books that I'm hauling in this video, and many of them are books that I purchased like kind of about this same time, like last year. That's how far behind I am. So yeah, let's get going here. I have 20 books, and yeah, I'm essentially going to just be reading the synopsises for each of these books, and yeah, if I'm filling up to it, maybe tell you perhaps why exactly I purchased that particular book, if I can remember why. The Beautiful Ones by Sylvia Moreno Garcia. They are the beautiful ones. Los most notable socialites, and this spring is Nina's chance to join their ranks, courtesy of her well-connected cousin and his calculating wife. But the grand season has just begun, and already Nina's debut has gone disastrously awry. She has always struggled to control her telekinesis. Neighbors call her the Witch of Old House, and the haphazard manifestations of her powers make her the subject of malicious gossip. When entertainer Hector Weir arrives to town, Nina is dazzled. A telekinetic like her, he has traveled the world performing his talents for admiring audiences. He sees Nina not as a witch, but ripe with potential to master her power under his tutelage. With Hector's help, Nina's talents blossom, as does her love for him. But great romances are for fairy tales, and Hector is hiding a truth from Nina and himself that threatens to end their courtship before it truly begins. Hell yes, I'm looking forward to this, you guys. Because I loved Mexican Gothic so much, I have just been purchasing a bunch of Sylvia Moreno Garcia's books. Hour of the Witch by Chris Bajalian? Ooh, I'm definitely gonna have to, whenever I get around to like reading this book and whatnot, I definitely need to look up a pronunciation guide for his name, because I'm not quite sure, because I feel like there's something like silent in there. I feel like there's some silent letters in there, and I'm overly pronouncing it. Boston, 1662. Mary Deerfield is 24 years old. Her skin is porcelain, her eyes Delft blue, and in England she might have had many suitors. But here in the New World, amid this community of saints, Mary is the second wife of Thomas Deerfield, a man as cruel as he is powerful. When Thomas, prone to drunken rage, drives a 3-tined fork into the back of Mary's hand, she resolves that she must divorce him to save her life. But in a world where every neighbor is watching for signs of the devil, a woman like Mary, a woman who harbors secret desires, and finds it difficult to tolerate the brazen hypocrisy of so many men in the colony, soon becomes herself the object of suspicion and rumor. When tainted objects are discovered buried in Mary's garden, when a boy she has treated with herbs and simples dies, and when their servant girl runs screaming in fright from the Deerfield home, Mary must fight to escape not only her marriage, but also the gallows. Ooh, yes, I love this. I love anything with, like, in American history, with, like, the Salem witch trials and whatnot. Because, yeah, this says Boston 1662. So, yeah, the Salem witchcraft trials are occurring as this is happening. So, yeah, I'm definitely really highly looking forward to this. It sounds kind of really creepy, twists and turns and whatnot. Is there magic going on? I guess we'll find out. The Living and the Lost by Ellen Feldman. Millie and her brother David escaped to the United States just before Kristallnacht, leaving their parents and little sister in Berlin. Now they are both back in their former hometown, haunted by ghosts and hoping against hope to find their family. Millie works in the office responsible for rooting out the most dedicated Nazis from publishing. Like most of their German-born American colleagues, the siblings suffer from rage at Germany and guilt at their own good fortune. Only Millie's boss, Major Harry Sutton, seems strangely eager to be fair to the Germans. Living and working in bombed-out Berlin, a latter-day Wild West where the desperate prey on the unsuspecting, spies ply their trade, black markets thrive, and forbidden fraternization is rampant. Millie must come to terms with a past decision made in a moment of crisis, and with the enigmatic, sometimes infuriating Major Sutton, who is mysteriously understanding of her demons. And yeah, this is atmospheric and page turning. Ooh, yes, I can't wait. This is on one of my TBRs. At the time that I'm filming this is part of one of my TBRs, but I have yet to read it. but yeah, I can't wait to get to this. Catherine Howard, The Scandalous Queen by Alison Weir. I've been looking forward to all these books by Alison Weir, and then for each of the wives of Henry VIII, like, and yeah, what the little subtitle is. So yeah, hers is The Scandalous Queen, which makes sense. Catherine Howard was definitely one of the more scandalous of King Henry VIII's wives. Yeah, I'm not going to sit here and read the synopsis back here because I think it's pretty self-explanatory, even what I've just already told you. This is actually book 5, correct? Yeah, this is book 5 in this series by Alison Weir, and each of these books has been focused on one of the 6 wives of King Henry VIII. So yeah, this one is on Catherine Howard, who was like the youngest of King Henry VIII's wives. And yeah, if you know her story, off with her head, you guys. And it was, oh, good lord. Like I said, she was one of the youngest, and kind of just really tragic and upsetting what happened to her. Before the Crown by Flora Harding. Windsor Castle, 1943. As war rages across the world, Princess Elizabeth comes face to face with a dashing naval officer she first met in London 9 years before. One of the youngest first lieutenants in the Royal Navy, Philip represents everything she has always been taught to avoid: instability, audacity, adventure. He is the risk she has never been allowed to take, the risk not even the shadow of the crown will stop her from taking. Yes, I can't wait to get to this, guys. I adore just the relationship between the Queen and the late Prince Philip, you guys. I'm still so sad about Prince Philip because he died, you guys. He was so close to being 100 years old. That kills me when people die, especially if they live to be a really good age and they're just about to hit being 100 years old. That absolutely kills me, you guys. And I'm so upset that Prince Philip didn't make it to 100. Oh, he was so close, like a month off, you guys. I love all things with the Windsors. I know there's a lot of controversy with them within the last couple years, you guys, but I still love them and their story and their history. They have just such a rich history, you know, that goes back hundreds of years. So yeah, I definitely can't wait to get to this. Neon Gods by Katie Robert. This is the first book in a series. Society darling Persephone plans to escape the ultra-modern city of Olympus and start over far from the backstabbing politics of the 13 houses. But all that's ripped away when her mother ambushes her with an engagement to Zeus, the dangerous power behind their glittering city's dark facade. With no options left, Persephone flees to the forbidden Undercity and makes a devil's bargain with a man she once believed a myth, a man who awakens her to a world she never knew existed. Hades has spent his life in shadows, and he has no intention of stepping into the light. But when he finds that Persephone can offer a little slice of the revenge he spent years craving, it's all the excuse he needs to help her, for a price. Yet every breathless night spent tangled together has given Hades a taste for Persephone, and he'll go to war with Olympus itself to keep her close. So yeah, my understanding of this series is that it is like heavy romance. I'm not sure if it's quite erotic fiction. You guys, I'm not quite sure if it's erotic fiction. I was skimming through here and I saw some steamy stuff in here. I was like, oh, let me not look just yet. I definitely saw some really steamy sex scenes in here, you guys. So my understanding is that this is like high romance, I guess. Does that make sense? I'm not sure if that's a term. I am not into romance, so I'm not sure what kind of the genres within romance would technically be called. But yeah, I know this is romance, and this series is like retellings of Greek mythology stories. And as you can tell from this plot synopsis, this is retelling the story of Hades and Persephone, and I love the story of Hades and Persephone. So that's what I initially gravitated towards with this book. And yeah, this is not historical fiction to my understanding. It is kind of fantasy. It sounds like taking place in another kind of a universe or whatever. It's very similar to like the Greek pantheon and the Greek world, but like in a more of a fantasy setting, I guess. Does that make sense? I'm not sure if I'm making sense. But yeah, it does. It sounds really awesome, you guys, and I can't wait. Goblin by Josh Mallorman. I really love this cover design. There's something like kind of almost retro to it. There's something kind of retro to it, and I love the maze going on. And then this little girl, I think it's a little girl. Yeah, maybe, I don't know. She almost looks like Alice in Wonderland, seriously. Goblin seems like any other ordinary small town, but with master storyteller Josh Mallorman as your tour guide, you'll discover the secrets that hide behind its closed doors. These 6 novellas tell the story of a place where the rain is always falling, nighttime is always near, and your darkest fears and desires await. Welcome to Goblin. So yeah, it sounds like there are 6 little short stories within this book, and they all take place in this They all take place in this place called Goblin. So my understanding is that this is kind of like horror, within the horror genre, it sounds like. So I don't know if I'm going to read all of this. Let me kind of just read maybe one or two of what the short stories are, because there's a lot going on here. So one of the short stories is called A Man in Slices. A man proves his legendary love to his girlfriend with a sacrifice even more daring than Vincent van Gogh's, and sends her more than his heart. There's another one here called Presto. All Peter wants is to be like his hero, Roman emperor, the greatest magician in the world. When the famous magician comes to Goblin, Peter discovers that not all magic is simply an illusion. Then there's another one here, The Mix-Up at the Zoo. The new zookeeper feels a mysterious kinship with the animals in his care and finds that his work is freeing dark forces inside him. So yeah, there's something creepy going on in this town called Goblin, and these are all just little stories within that sound really good. I was really intrigued by this. It sounds pretty cool. Madam by Phoebe Nguyen. I love the gothic tone and atmosphere of this cover. It's just brilliant. There's something like screaming Rebecca to me. I don't think it has anything to do like with Rebecca, but it just gives me that feeling. For 150 years, high above rocky Scottish cliffs, Caldebray Hall has sat untouched, a beacon of excellence in an old ancestral castle. A boarding school for girls, it promises that the young women lucky enough to be admitted will emerge resilient and ready to serve society. Into its illustrious midst steps Rose Christie, a 26-year-old classics teacher, Calderon Bray's new head of the department and the first hire for the school in over a decade. At first, Rose is overwhelmed to be invited into this institution, whose prestige is unrivaled. But she quickly discovers that behind the school's elitist veneer lies an impenetrable, starkly traditional culture that she struggles to reconcile with her modern beliefs. Not to mention her commitment to educating girls for the future. It doesn't take long for Rose to suspect that there's more to the secret circumstances surrounding the abrupt departure of her predecessor, a woman whose ghost lingers everywhere, than anyone is willing to let on. In her search for the mysterious former teacher, Rose instead uncovers the darkness that beats at the heart of Caldebray, forcing her to confront the true extent of the school's nefarious purpose and her own role in perpetrating it. You know, I was saying this was giving me Rebecca vibes. There is almost a Rebecca sort of esque tone to this, because instead of a romance, I guess, this is following like a teacher who's trying to figure out the disappearance of another teacher, I guess. So it's sort of kind of like Rebecca, just opposite, I guess, you know. An Unlikely Spy by Rebecca Starford. There's also something kind of retro and classic about this cover as well. I kind of like it. Evelyn Varley has always been ambitious and clever. As a girl, she earned a scholarship to a prestigious academy well above her parents' means, gaining her a best friend from one of England's wealthiest families. In 1939, with an Oxford degree in hand and war looming, Evelyn finds herself recruited into an elite MI5 counterintelligence unit. A ruthless secret society seeks an alliance with Germany, and posing as a Nazi sympathizer, Evelyn must build a case to expose their treachery. But as she is drawn deeper into layers of duplicity, perhaps of her own making, some of those closest to her become embroiled in her investigation. With Evelyn's loyalties placed under extraordinary pressure, she'll face an impossible choice: save her country or the people who love her. Her decision echoes for years after the war, impacting everyone who thought they knew the real Evelyn Varley. Oh yes, I love this. Yes, she's going to become like a spy for MI5. Yes, I love that. Next up, you guys, the next two books I have here come from the Grisha verse by Leigh Bardugo. And the first book in the series is called Six of Crows. And then the next book is called Crooked Kingdom. And I kind of really don't want to read the synopsises for these either, because I have yet to start like the Shadow and Bone books and whatnot, and I don't want to accidentally sit and read these back here and spoil myself. Now, I do know from my understandings, because I have seen the Shadow and Bone TV series, from my understanding, what the TV show Shadow and Bone did, it combined that trilogy and this duology together, even though I think they're kind of set in, I'm not sure, alternating timelines? I'm not quite sure. I'm not, like I said, I've not read any of the books. I'm just kind of going based off of what I know from the show, but I know that the show combined the Shadow and Bone trilogy and this duology together, so that way there's like more characters and they can kind of, you know, show like what the Shadow and Bone characters were up to and then what these characters were also doing like at the same time, I guess. So yeah, I'm very interested to finally get through Shadow and Bone and then also get into this duology as well, because these characters, I loved these characters as well from the TV show. And also set in the Grishaverse by Leigh Bardugo is King of Scars, and this is another duology, and I have the first book here. And once again, I kind of really don't want to read the synopsis for this either, because I don't want to spoil myself since I've not read any of the other books in the series. But is this supposed to be a prequel? I'm trying to think. My understanding of like this duology is it's a prequel. I might have that totally wrong. You guys can let me know if I have that totally wrong. And yeah, this is like some of the characters in like the other main series. You know, I think maybe younger, maybe. I don't know. Like I said, I could have all that wrong. Either way, all of these Leigh Bardugo books, I can't wait to get to all of them and read them and like binge my way through them, because I hear that the Grishaverse is pretty great. Lost Boy by Christina Henry. And if you can't tell from that cover, this is like a Peter Pan retelling. There is one version of my story that everyone knows, and then there is the truth. That is how it happened, or this is how it happened. How I went from being Peter Pan's first and favorite lost boy to his greatest enemy. Peter brought me to his island because there were no rules and no grown-ups to make us mind. He brought boys from the other place to join in the fun, but Peter's idea of fun is sharper than a pirate's sword, because he's never been all fun and games on the island. Our neighbors are pirates and monsters. Our toys are knife and stick and rock, the kinds of playthings that bite. Peter promised we would all be young and happy forever. Peter lies. Ooh, see, it sounds like Peter Pan, Captain Hook, we're best friends, but then things went wrong, and we're going to kind of see how Captain Hook becomes Captain Hook. And the thing is, I have a feeling he's not going to be the villain. Seriously, I have a feeling he's not going to be the villain. He's like been misunderstood through history, and that Peter Pan is the true villain, so I like that. Next up, I have some non-fiction here, and this is The Romanov Royal Martyrs, What Silence Could Not Conceal. And this is actually put out by the Mesopotamos Publications. So yeah, let me read this back here. The book, The Romanov Royal Martyrs, What Silence Could Not Conceal, draws on letters, testimonies, diaries, memoirs, and other texts never before published in English to present a unique biography of Tsar Nicholas II and his family. A lively portrait of the royal martyrs emerges from their own personal writings and in the writings of those who lived very close to them. Based strictly on primary sources, the book also brings to light a multitude of unknown and unrevealed facts, which evince that many truths in regards to the life and martyrdom of the royal martyrs remain silenced or distorted to this day. Historians who worked on this project include Nicholas B.A. Nicholson, Hella Azar, Helen Rappaport, and they are all noted specialists in Romanov history. And I do love Helen Rappaport, so I'm glad she's part of this project. I am very much looking forward to reading this book. When I was glancing through it, it is beautifully done, beautifully put together, tons of photos. And something else that I liked, there are tons of photos in here that were recreated and given color. As you can see, this is a bunch of photos of all the Grand Duchesses, all the daughters of Tsar Nicholas II, and it's been colorized and whatnot. And I love all of these photos in here. Let me see if I can show another one. Like this one is of Tsar Nicholas II. Got like a family portrait there. But yeah, there are several dozen colored photos in here. And I kind of like that. It really it gives the Romanovs like life and vibrancy, you know, but we've only seen photos of them in black and white and whatnot, and this really makes them come alive in such a unique, bizarre way, which I find fascinating. The one downside that I have with this book, though I'm very excited to get to it and read it, the one downside that I am kind of feeling from this book is that it's going to be very one-sided. It's going to be very, like, pro-Romanov, obviously, and not really looking deeply at the flaws of the Romanovs. Though I adore this family, I love this family. I have always felt a huge degree of sympathy for them, especially because they were just horrifically, brutally murdered and whatnot. The way they were treated their final day, I definitely have a lot of sympathy for them in that. But the thing is, there's also the fact of the matter. To me, I have always felt that Tsar Nicholas II, though he was a great father, he was not a great Tsar of Russia. You know, he was a terrible Tsar, I have always found. I always kind of have had the feeling that he never really wanted to be Tsar. You know, if one of his brothers could have been Tsar, he would have been happy to do that. He would have been happy to go live out in the country and just be with his family and whatnot. So I feel like this book is going to be very, very one-sided and not truly looking deeply and harshly into the realities of Tsar Nicholas II's rule and whatnot and his reign. And yeah, this book, as you can see, as I was reading the synopsis, it kept referring to the family as, you know, royal martyrs, because they were created martyrs. They were created saints. I think back in the early 90s, right, when their bones were discovered, they were made saints in the early 90s. So people do worship and pray to, like, the Romanovs as saints and whatnot. It's a very serious thing to some people. And yeah, I definitely don't want to sit and just rain on anybody's religion, you know. I'm definitely not doing that. So I really feel like this book is going to be very, very one-sided, unfortunately, in some ways. And like I said, not looking deeply and critically at the flaws of the family, you know, especially Tsar Nicholas and Alexandra and whatnot. But I'm still really looking forward to this. Like I said, the research looks pretty great. The color photos in this look so outstanding and beautiful. But yeah, when I do finally get around to this and do a review, I guess I will let you all know in a lot more detail how this book kind of goes. Half Sick of Shadows by Laura Sebastian. Everyone knows the legend of Arthur destined to be a king, of the beautiful Guinevere who will betray him with his most loyal knight, Lancelot, of the bitter sorceress, Morgana, who will turn against them all. But Elaine alone carries the burden of knowing what is to come, for Elaine of Shalott is cursed to see the future. On the mystical Isle of Avalon, Elaine runs free and learns of the ancient prophecies surrounding her and her friends, countless possibilities, almost all of them tragic. When their future comes to claim them, Elaine, Guinevere, Lancelot, and Morgana accompany Arthur to take his throne in stifling Camelot, where magic is outlawed, the rules of society claim them, and enemies are everywhere, yet the most dangerous threats may come from within their own circle. As visions are fulfilled and an inevitable fate closes in, Elaine must decide how far she will go to change destiny and what she is willing to sacrifice along the way. And yeah, this is essentially a retelling of The Lady of Shalott by, what is his name? I have read The Lady of Shalott, but I can't think who wrote it. Who wrote it? Let me see if there's a quick thing in here. Alfred Lord Tennyson, that's it. Alfred Lord Tennyson wrote The Lady of Shalott. I first read The Lady of Shalott back in college, and God, I can't entirely remember what it's about. I definitely remember it had something to do with Arthurian legend, and yeah, like a lady who, if I'm remembering correctly, she's like kind of locked up in a tower almost, or she can't get away, and like Lancelot comes and visits her, and she falls in love with Lancelot, something like that. I might be totally misremembering The Lady of Shalott, you guys. Totally. But I definitely remember reading it. I just can't remember the specific details of it. Yeah, there have been so many Arthurian adaptations over the years. I have never seen an adaptation for The Lady of Shalott, you guys, so I'm pretty thrilled and excited to get to this. The Personal Librarian by Marie Benedict and Victoria Christopher Murray. In her 20s, Belle is hired by J.P. Morgan to curate a collection of rare manuscripts, books, and artwork for his newly built Pierpont Morgan Library. Belle becomes a fixture in New York City society and one of the most powerful people in the art and book world, known for her impeccable taste and true negotiating for critical works as she helps create a world-class collection. But Belle has a secret, one she must protect at all costs. She was born not Belle Green, but Belle Greener. She is the daughter of Richard Greener, the first black graduate of Harvard and a well-known advocate for equality. Belle's complexion isn't dark because of her alleged Portuguese heritage that lets her pass as white. Her complexion is dark because she is African American. Ooh, yes. I can't wait to get to this. Sounds super great. I love Marie Benedict, and I'm really glad that she teamed up with this author here, Victoria Christopher Murray. I'm glad they teamed up, because I think Victoria Christopher Murray, yeah, she is a woman of color here. You can see her photo there and Marie Benedict's photo there. So I do, it's like, it seems like Marie Benedict wanted to tell this story and was like, you know, I need some help and advice while writing this, so let me get someone who knows what they're talking about, you know. So I love this team up here, and I think that's going to make for a really good book with both of these lady writers and whatnot, so I can't wait. She Who Became the Sun by Shelly Parker Chan. In a famine-stricken village on a dusty yellow plain, 2 children are given 2 fates. A boy, greatness. A girl, nothingness. In 1345, China lies under harsh Mongol rule. For the starving peasants of the Central Plains, greatness is something found only in stories. When the Zhu family's 8th-born son, Zhu Kangba. Guys, I'm not Chinese. I'm going to be butchering a little bit of this. Like I said, when I get, for a lot of the stuff, when I get to the actual books, I will do better pronunciation guides. So this son, he is given a fate of greatness. Everyone is mystified as to how it will come to pass. The fate of nothingness received by the family's clever and capable second daughter, on the other hand, is only as expected. When a bandit attack orphans, the 2 children, though, hold on, okay. When a bandit attacks the 2 orphan... Oh, Lord. This sentence. What's up with this sentence? Oh, okay. I'm reading it wrong. When a bandit attack orphans the 2 children, though, it is Zhu who succumbs to despair and dies. Desperate to escape her own fated death, the girl uses her brother's identity to enter a monastery as a young male novice. There, propelled by her burning desire to survive, she learns she is capable of doing whatever it takes to stay hidden from her fate and claim her brother's given destiny as her own. Oh, this sounds great. It almost has like a Mulan sort of vibe to it, you guys. It sounds really... Oh, I can't wait to get to this. Yes. The Maidens by Alex Michaelids. I think it's Greek. It sounds Greek. It sounds Greek. I'll get a better pronunciation for that as well sometime in the future. Edward Fosca is a murderer. Of this, Mariana is certain. But Fosca is untouchable, a handsome and charismatic Greek tragedy professor at Cambridge University. Fosca is adored by staff and students alike, particularly by the members of a secret society of female students known as the Maidens. It sounds like a cult, you guys. Mariana is a brilliant but troubled group therapist who becomes fixated on the Maidens when one member, a friend of Mariana's niece, Zoe, is found murdered in Cambridge. Mariana, who was once herself a student at the university, quickly suspects that behind the idyllic beauty of the spires and turrets and beneath the ancient traditions lies something sinister, and she becomes convinced that despite his alibi, Fosca is guilty of the murder. But why would the professor target one of his students, and why does he keep returning to the rites of Persephone, the maiden, and her journey to the underworld? When another body is found, Mariana's obsession with proving Fosca's guilt spirals out of control, threatening to destroy her credibility as well as her closest relationships. But Mariana is determined to stop this killer, even if it costs her everything, including her own life. Hell yes! You guys, this it takes place at a college. Sounds crazy. Murder, dealing with Greek tragedy. I'm all in. The Evening and the Morning by Ken Follett. And this is a prequel to The Pillars of the Earth, you guys. I have not started reading the other books that are part of this series by Ken Follett. I kind of want to collect all of them and like binge my way through them. So yeah, even though this is part of a series, I will go ahead and read the back synopsis, because all of the books, because I have seen like the miniseries adaptations for like Pillars of the Earth and World Without End and whatnot, they don't like connect, you know, they're their own stories. They all just kind of take place in the same like world, general world building and whatnot. So yeah, I'm going to read the synopsis for this because I'm not going to get spoiled by anything, I don't think. In this prequel to the monumental Pillars of the Earth, 3 people find their lives intertwined. A young boat builder's life is turned upside down when his home is raided by Vikings. A Norman noblewoman marries for love, following her husband across the sea to a new land with shockingly different customs, where everyone is engaged in a constant brutal battle for power. A monk dreams of transforming his humble abbey into a magnificent center of learning, and each in turn comes into dangerous conflict with a clever and ruthless bishop who will do anything to increase his wealth and I can't wait. Yeah, like I said, a prequel to Pillars of the Earth, kind of going back, I think, quite a number of years before the events of that story. Yeah, Yeah, it says up here, when the Roman Empire declined, Britain went backward. This period is sometimes called the Dark Ages. Yes. And you guys, the last book I have here for this book haul, M. King's Bodyguard by Niall Leonard. From humble beginnings in Ireland, William Melville has risen through hard work, intelligence, and occasional brute force to become head of Scotland Yard's special branch, personal bodyguard to Queen Victoria and her family, and the scourge of anarchists at home and abroad. But when the aged queen dies in January 1901, and the crowned heads of Europe converge on London for her funeral, Melville learns of a conspiracy led by a mysterious nihilist known only as Akushku to assassinate Kaiser Wilhelm of Germany at the ceremony. Ooh. Racing to prevent the atrocity, Melville and his German counterpart Gustav Steinhauer find themselves tangled in a web of adultery, betrayal, and violence. As the funeral looms ever closer, Melville realizes that Akushku is the most resourceful and vicious foe he has yet encountered, but is the greatest threat from Melville's enemies or his allies. Oh, this sounds great! Like a mystery thriller sort of thing taking place on, like, the day of Queen Victoria's funeral and whatnot. Ooh, sounds... Oh, I got chills. I'm ready for this. I'm ready for this. So you guys, that is it for my book haul. In the comments below, are there any books that I share with you guys that you would love to read, or you have already read them? Any of these books that I should read sooner rather than later? Just let me know your thoughts down below. So that's it for this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you like this video, you may like these other videos. Bye guys.